Okay, I think I've got it all good now. Thank you for those of you who bared with me last time as Facebook moved all their buttons around of how to go live, but now I got it up much quicker. So we are good to go. I know a lot of you are catching the replay of this. I'm getting a prompt about turning off my reactions because I don't like when you do this and you get like thumbs up and stuff like that. So yes, I know a lot of you are going to catch the replay of this. This was a little bit of a last minute training that, a lot of people have just asking questions around marketing the intensives and what are the best options, what even are the options out there. So I wanted to cover that a little bit more with people. So as I'm going through any information today, if you have questions, if you're here live, go ahead and put those questions in the chat. If you're watching the replay, just go ahead and comment on the replay and I will respond to your questions as I see them come in. But I'm gonna get started with, when we think about all of the different marketing methods out there, there's a few different things that we can cover. I've got my notes down here to make sure I cover all the points that I wanted to cover. So marketing in general, we've got your website, we've got different directories, we've got options for social media marketing if you do that. We've got networking. We've got all these different opportunities of things that you can do. Hi, Sammy. Good to see you here. Yes, I know it's late afternoon Central, so thanks for joining me at the end of your Friday afternoon. But yeah, so thinking about marketing intensives, there are so many different components to think about. Number one, I think it's helpful for you to know what is actually the thing you are offering. Are there options of what you're offering? Are there packages of what you're offering? Or is there just a way that you are offering extended sessions? Because we have to know what we are telling people to, book, to ask about, or to refer to us to. So we have to get kind of we have to get our offering nailed down to know what we're actually promoting and putting out there. So some people, for example, they do specific modality intensives. You've probably seen a lot of EMDR intensives, or couples isn't like a modality specifically, but some people say like Gottman intensives, EFT intensives, stuff like that. You don't have to promote them that way. You don't have to promote like what the intensive is, because at the end of the day, this is where we think about what it is that you're marketing and the messaging of what you are marketing. So ultimately, what people are going to be excited about is the transformation that you're offering. What is different about a therapy intensive, and why do they want to do that compared to weekly therapy, once a month maintenance sessions, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not the like flashy techniques or things that you're using, it's the transformation that you are marketing. So what does that mean in terms of how you market it? I've seen a lot of therapists who are starting with intensives or who are trying to revamp their marketing plan for intensives. Obviously, we want to get something on your website. If you know me, if you've been in my space for a while, I will talk about search engine optimization all day long. Yes, people are looking for intensives, but they're also not looking for intensives as much as they are just looking for help. So when people are thinking about what kind of help they want, that's where we come back to this transformation. So yes, focusing on that piece. When it comes to what we're putting on our website, it's helpful to think about your audience, your clients, and what actually resonates with them. Because I've worked with therapists who have said, the word therapy intensive is actually off-putting to my clients. They think like, oh God, I'm so bad, I'm so messed up, I need an intensive. It's gonna be scary, it's gonna be like a lot of work, and it is gonna be a lot of work, but we're not necessarily offering intensives because we think someone is like more broken and like needs more time. My cat is playing with a box of paper scraps if you hear some like scrunching in the background. We're not saying that something is so like wrong with a person that they need more help. We're saying, hey, this is an alternative to what you've been trying, and this is how it can be really helpful. And so you can even be creative when it comes to the marketing aspect of Wow, you're really having a lot of fun down there, buddy. My apologies about that. That's distracting. You can be creative with what is going to resonate with your client. So some people aren't putting therapy intensive, like that word, that phrase. Some people aren't putting that on their website. They're saying extended sessions, accelerated sessions, breakthrough sessions, immersive sessions. Like, you have a lot of different options with the actual vocabulary of what you're saying. So that's helpful to know. If therapy intensive for some reason does not resonate with the type of client you see, then don't use that wording. Find another way to be creative about it. Some people even just say packages or programs or things like that. So you can do lots of different things. We're gonna not play. This is the cat who's loving playing with a box of paper scraps right now. So that's one thing to think about. And then two, with your actual offering, what is it that you are offering? So I've seen a lot of people put together different packages of like, here's a 1-day package, a 2-day, a 3-day, a 5-day, stuff like that. I think in part, that's most helpful for you to know what you are ultimately offering to a client. I think if you think about the client end of that, if you were not a therapist, if you've maybe been to a little bit of therapy, but you're still kind of new to therapy stuff, would you really know what's like the best package to pick? Probably not. You're probably going to be looking at, okay, well, that's like the cheapest one, so I'm going to go that way. Or, well, that's the most expensive one, so that must be the one that gives like the best and the biggest benefits. So I find it more helpful. This is actually feedback I got maybe like 6 months into offering intensives. I had my business coach look at my website and just be like, how can I make this page better? And she said, like, this feels really overwhelming to have all these options of a 1-day, a 2-day, a 3-day. Like, how does a client know what's going to be helpful for them? So I switched it to where I started to say packages start at, and then I started to pitch what my package starts at. So my intake session, and for me, my minimum is for individuals, a 3-hour intensive session. So I say my packages start at the price for the intake and the 3-hour intensive, which for me, both of those are $1,850, $1,850 to be clear. So that is helpful from the perspective of, okay, if someone sees like, this is a way to get started, let me ask some more questions, let me see actually what's going to be most helpful for me. And so people get to get on the consult call with you, explain kind of what's going on for them, why they're interested in this intensive support specifically, and then you get to think about, okay, with your experience, with the ways that you practice, what is the package that you want to basically share with them of, given some of the things you're sharing with me, I really feel like 1 3-hour will get us a lot of time, or especially for things that are a little bit more complicated, like complex trauma, betrayals, affairs, things like that. If you're working with couples or families, those things generally tend to take a little bit more time because they're more layered and they're more complex and people need more healing around that. So it's helpful for you to share at the point of a consult, here's all the options. But to start with, your website really only needs to say like, here's that transformation, right? So coming back to this piece, they don't always need to know all the details of here's the methods we'll use and here's the schedule of the events. It's helpful to have that information on there. Like, you can for sure have it there, but ultimately what is going to sell a client on this is why I want to do an intensive is that transformation piece. What am I actually going to get from this? Again, why do this? So you want to write about that in your website. You also want to do that anywhere else that you are marketing your intensives. So I've seen some people put it on Psychology Today and they're like, I offer therapy intensives. And again, Psychology Today is more complicated because that's where you have those character limits. So you can only say so much. And what I don't want people to do is waste their precious character count on explaining what an intensive is. So you can, on your Psychology Today, say things like, I offer multiple options of working together. You can say, I work in a framework that helps to accelerate your goals. but don't get too down into the nitty gritty of like, I have to use a whole paragraph to explain what an intensive is and why people want to do it. The whole point of Psychology Today is to give someone a little preview, and then we want them to get into your website. So that's where you also need a really good website. So that's important to consider. If you are doing social media marketing, again, that's the same thing. Like people, if you use like why do a therapy intensive as a hook, people might be a little bit curious about it, but also they're gonna be maybe more intrigued by any content around like, I just did this thing and you're never gonna believe how quickly we worked through XYZ. People would be like, how quickly did you work through this thing? I wanna know, how did you do that? How did we get there? So you want to create a little bit more like intrigue around that. So then thinking about that's website, I talked about Psychology Today specifically, but any therapist directory. And then if you do social media, networking is a whole different ball game because this depends so much on who you're networking to. And I've seen a lot of chatter in Facebook groups these days on some of my coaching calls with therapists around you all may be feeling this too, where it feels like maybe consultations are slowing down. As we know, there's a lot of socio-political stressors right now. A lot of people are maybe freaking out about money and job security and stuff like that. So maybe some people are noticing there are less consultations coming. Maybe more people are looking for more insurance-based therapy. That's not a blanket statement. That's not generally true, but you all have probably seen that as well. You're probably in all the same Facebook therapist groups that I'm in. The important thing when it comes to networking is if you're going to network with other therapists, right, they probably will get a little bit of an idea. If you say, I do therapy intensives, I do extended sessions, whatever, they'll probably know what you mean. But the more therapists that are offering therapy intensive these days, it's not that it like creates competition and that it's bad. I mentioned this whole like, let's think about context and external factors things because something I read on a Facebook group the other day was, it really feels like more therapists are, again, like hurting for clients and therefore keeping their clients these days. So therapists aren't necessarily always referring out to other therapists. And again, I don't think that's generally true. I think still if we get someone who's like not a good fit for our niche, like if someone comes to me for substance use disorder stuff, that's not my niche. So I will be referring out to that even if I could technically book them as a client. So it's not, again, blanket statement true, but I do think networking with other therapists, it has its complications. So I will say what has worked for me, and this is like a double-edged sword for me, because number one, I do not actively go and pitch to other professionals, to other people in clients' care. I'm not going to PCPs, I'm not going to psychiatrists, I'm not going to med spas and like saying, here's my therapy intensive services. But if someone does not find me just from Google, whether they're searching for an intensive or whether they're just searching for therapy, if they don't find me from Google, my second best referral source are psychiatrists. And this is where I want to come back to like the website piece, right? Because some psychiatrists might know that Psychology Today and therapist directories exist. Some are going to have no idea. Some may know like, well, you might benefit from some more intensive work, but I don't even know who offers that. And so what is a psychiatrist going to do? They're going to go to Google and they are going to search for that. So I had one psychiatrist who referred maybe like 3 people to me because the psychiatrist actually was trained in brain spotting, and she wanted to be considerate of like dual roles. So she was like, you need to find a brain spotting therapist. And she found me not because I networked with her, she knew of me or anything like that. She found me because of my website, because she typed in brain spotting intensives in Oregon and she found me. So that's where I go back to the search engine optimization piece. Is there is so much work that you can put into marketing on, your different profiles on social media with other therapists, other wellness professionals, things like that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, so many people just go to Google for those things. So If you have not already optimized your website for SEO, I'm going to highly encourage you to do that. That's something that I help therapists do because it can feel like a little bit of a fourth language. It's a little complex. It seems complex. It's actually not that complex. So nailing that down is helpful, which then comes back to a marketing piece of what are we actually marketing? A lot of people ask me to do the SEO keyword research on, what variation of therapy intensives is like performing best for my area. And that's the thing is like a keyword, how we know how a keyword ranks, like anxiety therapist, couples therapist, sex therapist, trauma therapy, whatever it is, a keyword is based on cultural and societal norms of like what we even Google, what are popular phrases. And so a lot of clients don't yet know the term therapy intensives because even though more people are offering it, it's just a knowledge gap, right? We don't always know what is offered versus what's existing out there. So that's not to say don't use the word therapy intensives on your website if that's what you use, because for that small percentage of people who know what an intensive is, for the people who are looking for, is there any way to do intensive therapy? Not intensive outpatient therapy, because that's very different. You could probably write a blog on that. What's the difference between therapy intensive and IOP? But for that small percentage of people who are looking for a therapy intensive, if that's what you optimize on your website, if that's the keyword that you kind of focus in on, guess who they're going to find? I had someone who searched EMDR intensive therapy and found me. I have people who search couples intensive therapy and find me. So there is a keyword component to it. Definitely utilize it. And at the same time, not everyone is Googling those things. Most people are just searching for therapy, therapist, type of therapy, whatever it is. And so you want to make sure all of your other lovely services are being found. And that's why too, I know some therapists have asked in this group, I've seen it in some other groups, if therapists have separate websites for their intensives. I think that's really complicated to do, like managing 2 websites. I do that because I have 2 separate businesses. It's a pain in the butt. If you had like your normal therapy site for 3, 7, 15 years and now you just added another one, you're losing all of the like old Google credibility to leverage your therapy website, your therapy intensives, by now adding a new website, because now your new website's kind of starting from scratch, and that doesn't feel very empowering in terms of how are people going to find it. So definitely can just be all on one website. You do not need a brand new website to market it, but you want to use keywords around intensives as well as your general keywords around what is the work that you do, what areas do you serve, and specialties, modalities, whatever that might be. So genuinely and truly, I always say, I don't do anything to market my intensives outside of it lives on my website. And the most recent intensive I just booked, someone just Googled and she's booked 4 3-hour appointments, which for me is like $6,000. So you can have a marketing technique and strategy that doesn't require you to do a ton of work. If you are going to go above and beyond and do more work, that's where I encourage you to just be like smart and strategic about what you're doing. So if social media is your thing, find the creative ways to really show the transformation of what a therapy intensive offers. If networking is your thing, make sure to reach out to people who are not like indirect competition for you. So for sure, psychiatrists can be a good idea, as primary care providers can be a good idea. It depends on like what your niche is, but who are the people who are also in contact with your people that are not therapists? Because not all therapists are going to refer to you. Some people I've seen are like, oh, well, they were asking about intensive therapy, so then I just adopted, you're my guinea pig now for an intensive. So can be really helpful to just think about the different and again, effective ways of marketing your intensives. But those are the big takeaways of the marketing method and strategy, and then coming back to that messaging for marketing. So what's the transformation? How does it compare to weekly therapy? I even have on my website, I encourage other people to have on their website, basically like a breakdown of pricing differences. Like mine says, you could book 4 weekly therapy sessions, and that would cost you about this amount per month. And we might get to the thing that you're talking about, but also stuff moved back and forth between weeks. And maybe one week we were talking about this, but then something happened and now we're talking about this thing over here. Whereas in an intensive, which is this amount of time for this much amount of money, actually we might be able to move through this thing in that session. And then actually you kind of saved money and you definitely saved a lot of time. So for the analytical reader, for the person who really needs to understand that component, the financial component, the time component, that can be helpful to put into your messaging as well. Like this isn't just about me trying to get you in and get your money. This is also about, look, it's literally going to save you time and money. In this group and on my website, I've shared that before. Well, I should say that backwards. On my website and in this group, I have shared a few links to research that backs intensives, like why are intensives effective? Granted, when we think about research, a lot of that is dependent on who's funding the research, who's doing the research, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of it is on EMDR and trauma and PTSD focused therapy. Obviously, it extends outwards. I've seen couples therapy research for intensives. I haven't seen it for like anxiety, OCD, addiction related stuff, but in part, in transparency, that's because I haven't looked for it. It might exist out there, but it may not exist, but that doesn't mean it's not effective. To still be able to link any type of research for, again, your analytical readers can be helpful for them to see, okay, this is not just something someone pulled out of thin air. There's this research backing to it, and this therapist feels really confident that, you know, with this research, with their approach, with how we're going to structure things, that they can help me with this transformation. So I just wanted to come on and share a little bit about that and some of the things that I have found most helpful with marketing. Genuinely and truly, when you get your messaging on point for it, it can be so helpful for really the clients to just read this page and be like, this sounds perfect for me. Yeah, I'm basically just here to meet you and sign up and get scheduled. I had maybe a quick question about out-of-network benefits. So that's helpful to know that you don't have to work so hard to market these as it might feel like you have to. So I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions about the marketing component, the messaging component, again, feel free to just put comments on this video. Once it posts, it usually takes like 5 to 10 minutes to post after I click end video. But yeah, those are some takeaway thoughts. If you all haven't seen already, I'm doing another live training on Wednesday, which is going to talk bigger picture about more of the marketing stuff, exactly what to put on your website. So I'm going to be more specific around like, these are the questions you need to answer, how to handle the intro calls for intensives. So that one's going to be a really, really good one. Again, this was like an impromptu, a lot of people are asking this question, I'm just going to answer it. So it's a really quick 25-minute video. The one on Wednesday will be a full hour and the recording will be posted in the Facebook group. And yeah, other than that, thank you so much. If you were here live, happy Friday, happy weekend. I am traveling, I'm currently in Seattle. I'm traveling to Portland, Oregon to do a couples intensive this weekend. So yeah, I'm excited to do that. I'm excited to share this information with you all. I know a lot of you are really excited about the opportunity for intensives in your own practice. Good to see you today, Shauna. So yeah, thanks for spending some time with me today, and I will chat with you all and see you all soon. Bye.